The Millionaire Next Door. Written by Thomas Stanley. Summary. What do you imagine when you picture the lifestyle of the rich and the famous? Many of us are under the impression that millionaires are conspicuous consumers who purchase high-end designer items and splash their cash with frivolous abandon. The Millionaire Next Door aims to dispel myths about the wealthier sector of society, and it reveals that many of us are misinformed about what it actually means to be rich. The authors studied the profiles of the rich and provided critical insights into achieving financial independence. The majority of America's wealthy don't live the Hollywood high life, wear designer shades, and have garages full of fancy cars. On the contrary, the typical American millionaire enjoys quite a modest life in a middle-class suburb. They could even be your neighbor. Authors Thomas Stanley and William Danko debunk the myths about the millionaire lifestyle and give us a more accurate, yet surprising portrait of the average American millionaire. Many of us have no idea about the actual inner workings of a wealthy household. Furthermore, the advertising industry, the music industry, and Hollywood have done an exceptional job convincing us that wealth and hyperconsumption go hand in hand. But this simply isn't the case. This research is the most comprehensive ever conducted on America's millionaires, and is an important text that shares information on who they are, and how they got to be so wealthy. During their research process, the authors met over 500 millionaires face-to-face. As part of their research, they threw a penthouse party and invited the typical millionaire next-door types to attend, to interview them about their journey to wealth. The authors made some significant observations. For example, not one person ordered any delicacies, nor drank the most expensive wine. The only food they indulged in was the crackers. Many were also underdressed for the occasion, wearing well-worn suits. This insight is the key to this book, because it shows that the millionaire next door is usually best described as frugal. This summary briefly takes us through wealth management and attaining financial freedom. If you're curious about what it takes to be truly wealthy, who better to take advice from than two renowned social scientists who have been studying the habits of affluent people for over 3 decades. In this book, they unpack the millionaire next door profile, his or her financial practices, and what we can learn from a frugal mindset. Ultimately, your typical millionaire lives a modest life and budgets wisely. You might wonder why with all that money, they would be so budget conscious? Millionaires reach this status, and remain there, mainly by budgeting and controlling their expenses. What's more, if you have children and you want them to have financial freedom, this book offers crucial advice about the importance of raising a financially savvy younger generation. Live below your means, save regularly, and invest wisely. There's a popular saying about wealth: the first generation makes the money, the second generation builds on this, and then the third generation blows it. Millionaires next door tend to be happy with their lifestyle. They live within their means, always saving rather than spending. As the book's title implies, the average millionaire isn't living in Beverly Hills or in a Park Lane mansion. Harvard-trained mathematician John Robbins says that about half of the millionaires in America don't live in upscale neighborhoods. Rather, they live in modest homes and middle-class neighborhoods. From the studies conducted, these millionaires reported being very happy with their lifestyles. 90% of the millionaires who live in homes valued at less than $300,000 are extremely satisfied with life. One of the key ways to reach financial freedom is to live below your means. One of the book's research subjects, a qualified engineer, told the authors that she's incredibly frugal. After college, she and her husband both got good jobs, but decided to live on one income and save the other. Every time they received a raise in salary, they saved more. She and her husband have lived in the same modest 1,900 square foot home for 20 years. She's also instilling frugal values into her children, who sometimes ask if they're poor, because there are times their parents make them order from the $1 value menu. The millionaires that the author interviewed are also frequently investment savvy. It's not just about investing your wealth in stock markets and fancy properties. The typical millionaire they profiled had no more than 30% of their wealth invested in publicly traded stocks. Rather than investing their money in stocks and property, they believe true diversity comes from controlling one's investments. Many millionaires display caution towards stock market investments. They generally thought they have more control over private investments. For example, money lent to private parties, and owning their businesses. Interestingly, 80 to 85% of millionaires are self-made. They're not your typical trust fund babies, and most have created and accumulated their own wealth. This notion of wealth accumulation is crucial, because it gets you one step closer to that much-prized financial freedom. The average self-made millionaire prizes financial freedom and financial independence. Yes, they're budget-conscious, investment-savvy, and self-made, but they also exhibit a positive attitude towards wealth accumulation. They're genuinely passionate and enjoy the journey towards building wealth. Save, don't spend. People who look like they're rich don't inevitably have the type of wealth we'd expect. These types of people, the big hat, no cattle kind of people, value style over substance. Your typical millionaire next door prefers to save rather than spend. The advice from all of the case studies emphasizes financial independence rather than ostentatious wealth. Rather than buying into conspicuous consumption, the idea is to strive towards financial freedom. This approach means that if there's an unforeseen crisis, or if we face unemployment, we would have accumulated enough money to support our current lifestyle for the foreseeable future. There are two types of people in the world, those who spend their money, and those who deliberately save and build wealth. The first type is prodigious accumulators of wealth, the millionaire next door. The second type is underaccumulators of wealth. To become a prodigious accumulator, we need to build wealth efficiently, use our time correctly, budget, live below our means, and invest carefully. How are you currently feeling about your credit or debit card situation? A lot of us are underaccumulators because we survive from paycheck to paycheck. Many of us might be spenders who ignore budgets and wise investments. Many of us also fall victim to wealth-destroying impulse purchases. But it's all very well to accumulate wealth if you already have it. What happens when you're earning a modest income? Income versus wealth. A key distinction needs to be made, and that is that your income is what you earn, but your wealth is what you accumulate. We need to contextualize our net worth by looking at factors such as age and income bracket. This contextualization helps us to determine whether we're as wealthy as we should be. To calculate our wealth, there's a simple formula: multiply your age by your annual pre-tax income, and then divide that number by 10. So, let's look at a 60-year-old doctor who makes $560,000 a year. His net worth is $1.1 million. We might think he's wealthy because his net worth is just over $1 million. But, relative to his age and income bracket, his net worth should be more. By plugging those numbers into the wealth formula, he should have a net worth of more than $3 million. This formula is useful because it tells us that he's an underaccumulator, living a high-consumption-based lifestyle, and that, relative to his age and income bracket, he actually isn't wealthy. On the other hand, a 40-year-old policeman and his wife, a secretary, have a combined income of $50,000 a year. They spend modestly, they are careful savers, they invest strategically, and they have a net worth of $460,000. If we look at these numbers using the formula, their expected net worth for this age and income category comes to $200,000. So, because their net worth is higher than the norm, they're wealthy accumulators. The key message is that if your net worth is higher than your income and age bracket, you're doing well as a wealth accumulator, you're building wealth, and you're on your way to becoming wealthy. If not, you're spending more than you should, and you should adjust. Interestingly, millionaires have several other things in common.
Interestingly enough, Marcus Aurelius doesn't discard the value of the past entirely. He believed we could learn from the past by looking at its rhythm, how things come and go, repeating themselves, so we can extrapolate the future. The present. Marcus Aurelius frequently mentions that the present moment is all we have, it's the narrow field we've access to. From the present, we can stare into the endless abyss of the past and the impenetrable darkness of the future. Marcus Aurelius encouraged himself to stick with what was in his control, this moment. But even when we let go of the past and minimize our worries about the future, we may still very well care too much about things not worthy of concern, the things happening as we speak. We are often dissatisfied with the ways life plays out in the moment. And when things don't go as we wish, we tend to get angry, sad, or depressed. But according to Marcus Aurelius, being emotionally disturbed by what fortune throws at us is pointless. How the world around us unfolds itself is not up to us, how we react to it is. Yet, we tend to get disturbed because we don't like what's happening or what we want to happen doesn't happen. Marcus Aurelius stated that we shouldn't fight what we're compelled to. He compared people who struggle with fortune to pigs, kicking and squealing when sacrificed. It's no use, as we can't avoid what the gods have in store. We cannot stop people from wanting to fight wars. We cannot stop natural disasters from happening. We cannot prevent our bodies from aging. In the same way, we cannot force the world to grant our wishes. We're not guaranteed that the people we're attracted to are also attracted to us, nor assured that all human beings have the same shots at life. It's just not possible. Yet, we spend a lot of time and energy resisting what is and what we cannot change through any means in our arsenal. We're angry because we don't have what we want and sad because we've experienced what we don't like, and thus, the present moment becomes a torture chamber in which we suffer at fortune's every whim. Or, reversely, we're so enamored with the present moment that we cling to it. We're afraid to lose what we have, so again, we let fortune control us. But from our total entanglement in all around us, fleeting and ungovernable, we're often unable to see what's truly up to us, our choices, actions, and opinions. Marcus Aurelius saw the law of nature as our master. If we run from it or feel grief or anger about it, we're nothing more than deserters and fugitives. We must accept the ways of nature, embrace them, and focus on dealing with them instead of wasting our energy being disgusted by or clinging to our circumstances. A way to accept the present he wrote in the 7th book of his Meditations, arguing that we should focus on what we have, not what we lack, but with caution. I quote, "Treat what you don't have as non-existent. Look at what you have, the things you value most, and think of how much you'd crave them if you didn't have them. But be careful. Don't feel such satisfaction that you start to overvalue them, that it would upset you to lose them. Nevertheless, accepting one's circumstances can be difficult, especially when we face significant hardships and life gives us lemons repeatedly. Can't we just have a break?" But to Marcus Aurelius, adversity is not an excuse to behave like squealing, screaming pigs. He argues it's an opportunity to practice virtue, or in other words, to apply Stoic philosophy to one's life. The art of living isn't about how amazing and fortunate our external circumstances are, as they're unreliable, weak, fickle, and not our own. It's about how we face the events we meet. That's what we should care about, according to the Stoics. As Marcus Aurelius stated, "Because to me, the present is a chance for the exercise of rational virtue, civic virtue, in short, the art that men share with gods. Both treat whatever happens as wholly natural, not novel or hard to deal with, but familiar and easily handled." Thank you for watching.